the silence they laughed at became the thunder that's now shaking their world. They thought you were nothing more than static. Now they realize you were the frequency that breaks their illusions. They mocked you with smirks they no longer wear. They laughed with mouths that are now shut tight in shame. The same ones who once called you delusional are choking on their own arrogance because the truth you spoke in whispers has now grown teeth, and it's biting through their facades. They weren't just wrong about you. They bet against the universe's move, and now the karma they never believed in is cashing in, loud and unapologetic. Before we go any further, Chosen One, do your part. Like and subscribe to help spread this message. When you hit that like, drop a comment, or share this video, you're not just engaging with a screen, you're sending a signal through the algorithm that this isn't just content, it's a movement. You're helping this truth reach other warriors who've been doubted, dismissed, and disrespected. Drop 777 in the comments if your truth is finally starting to break through the noise. Let's lift this higher, together. Now let's talk. Let's talk about what it really means to be chosen, because that's not some sweet-sounding title people hand you with applause. No, it's something the universe embeds in your bones, and it doesn't come with flowers. It comes with fire. It comes with rejection, misunderstanding, isolation so cold it feels like exile, and you endured all of it. Not because you were weak, but because your truth was too sharp for dull minds. Your light was too bright for fake ones. You weren't overlooked because you had nothing to offer. You were overlooked because what you carried would expose everything they built on lies. The power of being chosen doesn't shout, it haunts. It lingers in the minds of the people who tried to erase you. It whispers in their quiet moments, reminds them in their dreams, and stings every time they see you rising in places they swore you'd never reach. That's what haunts them now. Not just that you made it, but that you made it without needing them. You didn't change your message to fit their box. You didn't soften your truth to make them comfortable. You stayed solid. And now, their entire game, the fake hierarchy, the forced narratives, the masks they wore to hide their insecurity, it's all crumbling under the weight of your authenticity. You were never here to fit in. You were here to shake the structure. They didn't understand that. They thought your silence meant weakness, not realizing it was precision. You weren't absent. You were preparing. You weren't invisible. You were protected. And now the very thing they ignored has become the truth they can't run from. You are the walking disruption, the silent storm, the living consequence. And the truth they once feared, it's now the truth they have to accept, because you're no longer asking to be seen. You're being seen anyway, not because they finally chose you, but because the universe never unchose you. This is the season where your truth doesn't just echo, it commands. You don't need a stage to be powerful. You are the stage. You are the shift. And for those who played with your name, underestimated your soul, and mocked your vision, their game is officially over. So tell me, Chosen One, are you ready to walk through the ashes of their game and into the fire of your own truth? If you've ever felt the sting of being doubted, if you've watched people twist your silence into weakness, then this message was carved in time just for you. Drop the number 77 in the comments if you feel the shift, if you know the tables are turning and the lies are cracking under the weight of your truth, and hit that like button, not for vanity, but to help this signal reach other warriors who are rising just like you. Because this isn't just a script, it's a reckoning. And now let's go all the way in, step by step. Trust this. If you're truly chosen, you won't need to force yourself to stay. You'll feel the pull. Their game is done. Your truth is rising. Let's get started. Number 1, they laughed at the truth. Now it's laughing back. They mocked your vision because it wasn't theirs to understand. But now the same truth they laughed at has come back dressed in power, and it's laughing at them. They laughed when you spoke. Not because you were wrong, but because their minds were too small to hold what you carried. They didn't mock your truth because it lacked value. They mocked it because it threatened the lies they were building their identity on. You offered insight, they labeled it insanity. You dropped wisdom, they acted like it was gibberish. But now those same voices are choking on the silence. The laughter has stopped. The smirks have faded. And your truth, the one they dismissed, is out in the open, glowing with undeniable weight, commanding respect they can't fake and attention they can't escape. This is the poetic justice the universe always promises. It doesn't scream in your defense. It waits until the very same ones who buried you in mockery are buried by the momentum of your breakthrough. You see, the universe doesn't retaliate with noise. It lets your rise become the echo they can't silence. Your glow becomes their regret. And now, the truth they once labeled crazy is becoming the blueprint for how they navigate their own collapsing world. They didn't just laugh at you, they laughed at the assignment, the calling, the divine frequency you were tuned into, long before they even knew which way was up. You were decoding patterns they couldn't even see, speaking truths they hadn't lived enough to comprehend. And now, they're quoting you, copying you, imitating the same essence they used to ridicule. That's what happens when truth matures. It doesn't get louder, it gets heavier. It bends the room, and the weight of it, it's breaking them. Ask yourself, why did it hurt so much when they laughed? Why did their rejection feel like betrayal? Because somewhere deep inside, you knew they weren't just denying you. They were denying truth itself. And that's the deepest cut. You weren't asking for praise. You were offering alignment. But their egos were too bloated to receive what was real. So they laughed. It was easier to dismiss you than to deal with what your presence made them feel. Small, fake, fragile. But now the roles have reversed. The joke is different now. They see your words showing up in articles, in conversations, in the mouths of people they respect. They hear echoes of your voice in places they thought you'd never reach. And the worst part for them, you didn't change to become acceptable. The world is finally catching up to the frequency you've always been on. That's not evolution on their part. That's exposure on yours. Let's call it what it is. Their laughter was never about truth. It was about fear. Fear that you were seeing something they couldn't control. Fear that your silence wasn't confusion, but calibration. Fear that the light in you might one day outshine the illusions they worshipped. And now that it has, they're scrambling, pretending they always believed, acting like they knew what you were carrying all along. But you remember. Oh, you remember the rooms you were laughed out of, the circles that couldn't hold you, the friends who turned strangers, the family who said you were too much, too deep, too intense. Now they listen a little longer. Now they repost your truth and hope no one remembers how they once rolled their eyes. It happened to all the greats. Nikola Tesla, a genius mocked by a world that couldn't keep up. He wasn't speaking madness. He was speaking into a future that hadn't arrived yet. And when it did, the world realized they weren't dealing with a lunatic. They were dealing with a pioneer. Or look at Kanye West, often called unstable, for saying what others were too scared to admit. But somehow, years later, the culture moves in the very direction he predicted. They laugh first because they don't understand. But they always circle back when understanding is no longer optional. Albert Einstein, Muhammad Ali, J.K. Rowling. They all wore the label of crazy, delusional, unrealistic, until the world adjusted its eyes and saw them for what they really were, chosen ones, selected not for conformity, but for disruption. And you? You are part of that lineage. Your mind doesn't work like theirs because it was never supposed to. Your path feels foreign because it was paved in dimensions they haven't walked through yet. And your truth? It's not just a message, it's a movement. But here's what hits the hardest. They know they laughed. They remember what they said. They remember how they looked at you like you were a glitch in the matrix. And now, watching you rise, walk in clarity, move in confidence, it's torment. Because your evolution is not just growth, it's a mirror. And when they see you, they don't just see success. They see everything they missed, every opportunity to align with you, every chance to understand, every moment they wasted pretending your truth wasn't real. Chosen one, hear me. You are the consequence. You don't need to flex. Your very presence now carries the weight of all the truths they ignored. Your peace screams louder than their doubt ever did. You are the consequence. You don't need to flex. Your very presence now carries the weight of all the truths they ignored. Your peace screams louder than their doubt ever did. Your existence is the echo of divine correction. You rise because you're aligned. Let your presence continue to pierce the illusions. Let your words continue to disturb the comfortable. Let your truth continue to unravel the fake. Because they may have laughed at the beginning, but at the end, they'll remember who you were when no one else saw it. And that remembrance will echo in every corner of their regret. Because they may have laughed at the beginning, but at the end, they'll remember who you were when no one else saw it. And that remembrance will echo in every corner of their regret. You didn't change your truth to fit their world. You stayed true, and your truth changed the world around you. You didn't change your truth to fit their world. You stayed true, and your truth changed the world around you. But it also made you unstoppable. You weren't too intense, they were too shallow. Your insight wasn't too much, it was too real for fake minds. That you were too serious, too deep, too intense. But now the truth is crawling back to their door in the very language you once spoke. What they called overthinking was actually your intuition dissecting realities they didn't have the capacity to perceive. Your intensity. That wasn't drama, that was clarity. You weren't emotional, you were awake. And the only reason it made them uncomfortable is because it exposed just how asleep they were. Let's make this plain. Your clarity was never the problem. Their shallow understanding of truth was.